Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Spirit I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And we're going to talk about Daniel. Daniel, vision of a man. You know, God gave him a understanding. See, God have a message that he wanted to give to Daniel to give to Bathsheba. You know, and so God wanted him to hear it clearly. So He gonna give him understanding. So in the meantime, he gonna bring a super being. You know, because see, this is a spiritual battle, and God needs to give him the correct message clearly for him to deliver. They're gonna come from Daniel chapter 10, 1 through 21. Now, in the third year, the king of Persia, Revelation, was given to Daniel, you know, who was called Badishan, you know, just a long name. You know, its message was true and it concerned a great war. You know, the message was true and it was a great war, a great spiritual war. You know, so the understanding of the message came to him in a vision. You know, cause see, sometimes God will give you a message. He'll give to you in your vision, your dream. You know, he'll speak to you of revelation. You know, so that's how he'll give to you sometime. You know, so this is Daniel finally on vision that give the future insight into the spiritual battle. You know, so between God people, you know, and those who want to destroy them. You know, he also received more details, information on the future, specific the struggles, you know, between the pilots. You know, so this spiritual battle, they really wants to hurt, you know, God's people. You know, really wants to hurt them. You know, so Daniel, he gonna put that vision in Daniel so he can clearly understand what he want him to do. You know, so said that time I Daniel mourned for 3 weeks. So when he saw this vision, you know, like I had said yesterday, when you dream it, or you have a vision of something, it's gonna be so real. It gonna you're gonna see it and you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna feel so real. So the vision Daniel had saw, it frightened him, it shake him. You know, he mourned for like 3 weeks for Israel because this spiritual battle supposed to come and just tear them up. You know, come to harm them in all kind of ways, scatter them all over. That what his vision was. You know, so after Daniel received the revelation that he mourned for 3 weeks, and Daniel did not go back, you know, to the group Exalt because he was about 84 years old at the time. Now you remember Daniel, you know, was in that lion den. You know, so I don't think he was 84 years old then. But now in this package here, he 84 years old. You know, and then he saw that vision, you know, that should come up, and he moaned and weep and hoo hoo for 3 weeks. You know, so that really should come up. You know, he ate no food. You know, he had no wine, no anything. You know, so the wine touched his lips, and he used, you know, to lotion all until the 3 weeks was over. So he fasts in the meantime. You know, in 3 weeks after he saw that vision, you know, he fasts for 3 weeks. He ate nothing, he drunk nothing, and he fasted for 3 weeks because that vision really should come up. What's gonna happen to him. Now he ain't tell him yet. You know, so Daniel refrained, you know, from eating certain food and using lotion because he was mourning, and these were signs of fasting, you know, and rejoicing. So Daniel people had just returned, you know, to return to Jerusalem, but the vision revealed trials and tribulation on the years to come. Daniel was in great garnish, you know, what the event had revealed. You know, since this event, there was a hellfire vision. You know, they caused him to fast for 3 weeks. He didn't want to eat nothing. You know, he ain't drunk anything. You know, so on the 24th day of the first month, you know, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, you know, so after Daniel fasting had ended, he was near the bank, where he saw the following vision. So Daniel was here in the body, but not only in the spirit. Sometimes you could be standing up there. Your body's standing up there. But sometimes you could be like in a whole nother world. They say, excuse me, you all right? You all right? Because sometimes they could just see your body here, but your mind is just somewhere else. And that's how it was with Daniel. Daniel saw that vision, and they say his body was here, but he was only in the spirit. He was in the spirit, but his body was standing there. His body was there. you know. And so he trying to connect in the spirit realm because of that vision he saw. So he looked up, and there before him was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine, gold, around his waist. I'm sorry, around his waist. So that means he either was a supernatural being. Remember, this is a spiritual battle. A spiritual battle. And so he got the vision, but he don't understand. All he see Israelite people scatter all over. And he just seen people just getting beat up everywhere. So God gonna give him understanding to know exactly what that vision means. So now this man Daniel had saw in his vision a body that was like topaz. Now his face was like lightning. His eyes were like flaming torch. His arm and legs were like gleaming burnished bronze. And his voice was like the sound of a multitude. Now it sounds like a supernatural being. That's what it sounds like. God sent a supernatural being down because this would be a spiritual battle. See, God already know the beginning to the end. The battle ain't even started yet, but God know how it gonna start. God know how it gonna end. So his body was like topaz, and his face was like lightning, and his eyes was flaming torch, and his arms and legs. So that was a spiritual being. So in this case, Daniel called a glimpse of an ongoing battle between good and evil, supernatural power. Now God showed him that this would be a spiritual battle. So he sent down a supernatural being, to tangle with this spiritual battle and give them insights on how to fight a spiritual battle. You know, so this I don't, I think I said it yesterday. A lot of time when you're in a spiritual battle, you're gonna be dealing with spiritual warfare. You know, you're gonna be dealing with it just like they say here. They have good angels and bad angels. God can send some good angels around you to protect you because you will be in a spiritual warfare or a spiritual battle. So you're gonna need spiritual protection. So that's what God figured. That's what God want for Daniel. Daniel about to be dealing with a spiritual battle, so God sent a spiritual being for his protection. Because when you're a spiritual divine and you in a spiritual battle, you need spiritual protection. And so that's what God has sent down to help Daniel, because these people talking about hurting God people. So Daniel was the only one who saw the vision, and that's something. And that's how I be too. A lot of time I could look at something, a mirror or something. I could see everything what's going on. But if somebody come sit down and look what I'm looking at, they won't see nothing. Just like Daniel said. He was the only one who saw the vision. And those who was with him did not see it. Because he a spiritual person. Spiritual gifts. And a person that not a spiritual person cannot see what you see. So that's what Daniel said. The people was with him. He saw it, but the people with him did not see it. They could not see what Daniel saw. But such a terror, overwhelmed them that they flee and hid themselves. Now they were so scared. They were so scared because Daniel telling them what he saw, but they didn't see it, but they got frightened and they took and ran and hid themselves. Now Daniel companion are terrified, but yet unseen. Daniel saw what he saw, regardless of the glorious man, but this companion could not see it. The person that was with him could not see it, what Daniel saw. So I was left alone, glazing, at this great vision, but I had no strength left. My face turned deadly, pale, and I was helpless. So he got weak. He got weak after he done saw that vision. He done got weak. He didn't have no strength at all. He just felt the helpless. So Daniel had grew pale with terror of what he saw. And he fainted. He fainted. He had got so weak. So Daniel was left alone when he saw this great vision, and no strength remained in him. So then I heard him speaking, and as I listened, to him, I fell into a deep sleep. My face to the ground. Now, bad enough he saw the vision. He all terrified. He got weak and everything. Now it's speaking to him. It's speaking to him in where he went into a deep sleep. And his face was face down to the ground. So now he in a deep sleep. And where God about to give him understanding, of what he's supposed to do. So as soon as he heard his words, he fell upon his face to the ground. So now reference of the speaker as well as true fitness, spiritual spirit, and these being quite exhausted. So as it well might be the reason of his falling out into a deep sleep. So he got exhausted. He was tired. He was weak. And that's something. Seeing a shaking up vision like that, have all these things done to Daniel. Where he got so weak to where he passed out. Not through all the verse he had heard. Now he seen the vision. Now he hearing a verse. After he heard that verse, he couldn't help but to pass out. He got so weak. So weak. So he had touched. He said, the spiritual being had touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. So the spiritual being had touched him while he was just trembling. Just trembling. And so God had strengthened Daniel by touching him possibly through this being. So remember he passed out. He had no weak. He was just so weak. So then the being had touched his mouth, give him strength. So he had strength. Now he said, Daniel, you are highly esteemed. Consider carefully the words that I am about to speak to you. So he telling him he highly esteemed. In other words, you powerful. He said, stand up. So God said, you's about to hear. I'm about to speak to you. So God said, stand up. Stand up, for I have now been sent. The being told him to stand up, that he been sent to him. God sent him to him. And when he said this to me, I stood up trembling. See, he by himself. Remember the people that was with him, they took and ran and hid themselves. They were like, oh, this stuff is frightening to me. They ran, so now Daniel by himself dealing with this. He passed out with somebody touching his mouth, giving him strength. They're talking, so he's terrified. So a certain man introduced himself to Daniel. And suddenly, a hand touched him, which made him trembling on his knees. So and on the palm of his hand, and he started trembling. So then he continued, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding. He got to go. He going through all this here to get understanding. See, God want to make sure you get this understanding clearly, because I need you to deliver this message to my people. So He set your mind to gain understanding. And to humble yourself before your God. Your words were heard, and I have come and respond to them. So He responded. Say He had prayed to God. And God responded to him. God let him know, I heard you, and I'm here to answer your prayers. So Daniel had set his heart to understand. Cause remember they told him, you got to set your mind, to gain understanding what I'm about to give to you. So Daniel set his heart to understand and to humble himself before God in prayer. But his prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. And then Michael, one of the chief prince, came to help him because I was detained there with the king of Persia. So although God had sent a messenger to Daniel, a powerful spiritual being detained the messenger for 3 weeks. You know, so remember he went into a deep sleep. And after he came from the deep sleep, he saw the vision, he fasted for 3 weeks. So Daniel faithfully continued praying and fasting, and God's message eventually arrived, assisted by Michael. So by Michael, the answer, to our prayers may be hindered, by unseen obstacle, you know, and not necessary because of our sin. So uh we can't expect God to answer quickly, but He will answer. That's why Jesus taught on prayer, on praying. He taught his disciples on praying. Remember, he talked about that widow when her husband had died. She needed justice, and this judge here did not want to assist her at all. So it was a story that he was telling to his disciples that no matter how many times you get a no, you keep on praying. So he will. Every day and don't stop. Even when you get a no, keep on praying until God answer. And when He answer, still pray. God answer at the right time. He wanted God to answer him quickly. He prayed and he said God got silent. That means you got to keep on praying. Jesus taught on that. If you don't hear from God, keep on praying. If you get a no, keep on praying. So now I have come to explain to you, what will happen to your people in the future. See, Daniel was a king. Remember, he 84 years old, and God still have work for him to do. So it does. God don't discriminate age. Just like Joshua. Joshua got old, and he talking about, and God was like, I still have work for you to do. Now, Daniel 84 years old. And so God said, let me tell you what's about to happen to your people, or the future. So He explained the purpose of His message. Now I have come to give you understanding of what will happen to your people in the latter days. For the vision pertain to the days yet the future. Now this is a direct answer to Daniel. It's hard to gain understanding which transpired. So God wanted him to get good understanding, because see, this dealing with God people, and He's the king. So God needed him to have your mindset for this understanding message that I'm about to give to you, because it's concerning my people. I'm about to tell you what they're about to do to my people, and I need you to follow instructions, and I need you to have good understanding. So get your mind right, clear your mind to hear the understanding. So while he was saying this to me, I bowed with my face towards the ground and was speechless. And I remember he was weak. He passed out, so now he's speechless. So while spiritual being was talking, he feared and he become speechless, and he had gratitude. The person who was before him, into the gratitude that he felt for the answer to his prayers. So then one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. Now I said to the one that's touching before, now this is the same being had touched him before, standing before me, I am overcome with garnish because of the vision, my Lord, and I feel very weak. Now this is a powerful vision, but he keep being weak. He's speechless, with the talk, no words, nothing come out of his mouth, passing out. So this is a big old powerful vision that Daniel experienced all these things. So now remember, when he bowed before a spiritual being and become speechless, he couldn't deliver the message. So he couldn't deliver the message. Remember, he's supposed to deliver this message to his people to let them know what's about to go on, but he comes speechless. And he couldn't deliver the message because he had fear and he could not speak. you know. And so that's what God had did him, because he was weak, he was trembling, and he had to deliver this message to his people. He had fear, he could not speak. He placed his hand on his lip as a sign that he should speak, imparting power to him to speak. Now he opened his mouth, spoke, and his fear was removed, and he was now able to address the heavenly Father message. So how can I, your servant talk with you, my Lord? My strength is gone, and I can't hardly breathe. Now something keep on being wrong with Daniel. Now this is just so powerful that he constantly still don't have no strength. He said, I barely can breathe. So now he had a chance to see the angel of the Lord that was now before him, and he had little breath left. So there was a chance to see the angel of the Lord. Then I can't hardly breathe. I have a little breath left. You know, so again, the one who looked like a man touched me and gave me strength. So now, this is the same angel, who touched him, to speak. And now he touched him again and give him strength. So this is second angel, touches his mouth, made him speak. Now this one touching him again to give him strength. So do not be afraid that you are highly esteemed. Now he telling him, don't be afraid, you're highly esteemed. That means you're powerful, you this and you that, don't be afraid. He said, pace, be strong. So now be strong. So when he spoke to me, I was strengthening. As he was speaking, he was just strengthening. He was getting his strength back. And he said, speak, my Lord. See, he couldn't speak to God. You got the man of God, standing right there by you, and then you speechless. You ain't got no strength. He couldn't say anything until this man of God touched his lip. While he was speaking, he was getting his strength back. And then he said, speak, Lord. Now since you had given me strength, so this angel had said, don't be afraid, you are highly esteemed. He said, be strong, and he strengthened him. The divine power is going along with his word, and Daniel found his body strength renewed, his spirit revived, and his heart. Now everything was coming, and that's how it is when you're a spirit being. I'm a spiritual being so also. And so a lot of time, with all that power and everything that's in you, you're going to always have strength losing from you, you know. Uh, and that's what happened today. And he also a spiritual being. That's why he was able to see the vision, and the people that was next to him could not see what he saw. And sometimes when you're spiritual divine, it will take a lot of your strength. That's why we have to always meditate to get our strength back. So the heart cheerful and his soul comfort. So he said, "Do you know why I have come to you?" Now this spiritual being asked him, "Do you know why I come to you? I was sent here, but do you know why I was sent here?" And so Daniel, it's a lot of times we pray to God about a whole lot of stuff. And sometimes we forget a whole lot of stuff. Because, see, sometimes God don't answer. Just like Daniel said, he prayed to God. He did not answer him quickly. And so if he prayed and God have not answered, he probably forgot what he prayed for. So he said, "Do you know why I was sent here?" Daniel don't. Because it's something he prayed to God for. And God answering his prayers by sending that spiritual being down to him. So he said, "Do you know why I have come to you? Soon I will return to fight against the prince of Persia, and when I go, the prince of Greece will come." You know, so so when he was gone forth, from the court of Pizon, having done his business, he was sent about confining the scene and Bopher's design of evil spirit conquering him. So you're gonna have evil, like this is spiritual battle. So you're gonna have evil spirit gonna be conquering God people. So that's why he had to bring a spiritual being down to help Daniel with this spiritual battle. But first I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. And see God know the beginning to the end. And God write everything down in the book of truth. So the being had asked, "Do you know why I come to you?" So the heavenly warfare, was to be directly against Persia and then Greece. Now each of these nations was to have powerful over God people. And that's why he was there to Daniel, to let him know. These two nations here, you know, they come to have power over God people. Because see, God is not gonna let that happen. See, God be on top of. See, God know people dreams. That God know what they're thinking about, and God know how to get on top of them before it surface. You see what I'm saying? God not gonna let them try to control. Cause see a lot of time, God, the Israelite had let people come and take over their land and have them back in slavery and stuff. Just have them taking over. But this time God wasn't gonna let them take over. So the regular against Pison and Greece. That's the two nations supposed to come against God people, the Israelite. Both Pison and Greece was represented by evil angels. See, they got good angels and they have evil angels. The evil angels come from the devil, because you remember when God kicked the Satan out, also kick his angels out. Also, they follow behind. So you're gonna have evil angel and you got good angels. So God controls the present and the future, and He has all events recorded in His book of truth. Everything is recorded in the book of truth. And so God sent that spiritual being to Daniel to speak to him in person. So he can get a good understanding of what about to go down. He ain't want to give him cause God can talk in and all kind of different language. So God wanted him to hear the understanding clearly. So he sent a spiritual being down to tell him clearly what about to happen. You got two nations supposed to come against Israel, you know, and so it's gonna be a spirit. They're gonna have evil spirit and stuff. So that's why he called it a spiritual battle, and they're supposed to placed that on the Israelite, and so God sent a spiritual being down to help Daniel, to block all that and make sure, because they were going to persuade the Israelite to turn against God to death. So they were going to have evil spirits to take over God's people, and God had to put it into, they had to catch them before anything, before they tried to get to his people, So that's Daniel's vision of a man. God gave him understanding, for his people, to protect his people. And he sent a spiritual being to deliver the message clearly, so he could get a good understanding. And the people that was with Daniel, they could not see what Daniel saw, you know. And so Daniel had received revelation. When he first saw the vision, he received revelation, and he mourned for like 3 weeks, meaning he fasted for 3 weeks. So that's all the word I have for you on today. Y'all have a blessed and safe day, and I'll see y'all on the next video.